Let's go.
Dun, 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 dun. And then I sing little songs, and I remember to hit the record button, and then I screen share, and we are live, everybody. Welcome, welcome to another Tuesday in Midwest Elevation. We are here live. Where's my present button? There we go. Welcome, everybody in Midwest Elevation. We are so happy to have you here for our weekly conversations to raise the collective conscious. I am your host, Renee Zukin, an educator and coach here in the very frigid Midwest. Our guest is in the Caribbean today, so he's not he's not dealing with the snow that we have here, but that's okay. Um, we are so excited to have Christiaan here today. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about him. We connected just a few months ago, and he's doing some really amazing work with the youth in around the world, really. So I'm excited to get into the details of that. But I know many of you out there working with youth, whether they are your own children at home doing online school, or you're like me, an educator grappling with online school, or some even, have their feet in both worlds. But regardless, working with the youth today is an important task. It always is. So we're really excited today to have this conversation with Christiaan. Um, and then, the other thing I needed to tell y'all, those of you who do work with kids, we're coming up on break. And I know, and Christiaan and I, just before we went live, were just talking about how this is our last week of work before the break really begins, and taking some time to rejuvenate and reconnect, which is something that I'm hoping to support many of you educators and youth leaders out there. I'm actually planning a 3-day live training for those that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, in between the holidays and New Year's Eve. So keep an eye out for more information on that. That is coming your way. But let's get going with our conversation today. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Christiaan Caanen is the project leader of Global Young Leaders, an organization that stimulates young people to create life by their own design, guided by connection, authenticity, and empowerment. Through the programs at Global Young Leaders, he facilitates non-judgmental dialogue between diverse young people from around the world and creates spaces in which young people are able to cut out external noise, reconnect to their authentic selves, and develop the personal and practical life skills they need to tackle their real-world challenges. Goodness, I wish I had something like this when I was a teenager. Christiaan was born and raised in the Netherlands and has lived in 7 different countries on 3 different continents. Fun fact, he also went to school in the Quad Cities. Amazing, right? Iowa, Illinois border, center of the universe here. He is an avid soccer player and proud on-demand psychotherapist to mom and sisters. How lucky they are to have you on demand. I love that. Well, welcome, Christiaan. I am so
Hi,
happy
Renee.
that you are here.
Happy to be here. Thanks for the wonderful intro. The Quad Cities, what up?
Yeah. It's just so funny that, in the roundabout way that we get connected, and lo and behold, uh, you were here once upon a time, not too far from where I live. But now you're in the Caribbean where it's not snowing. Tell me what the degrees
Definitely no snow. No, it's at 30 degrees. So Celsius.
are,
I don't do Fahrenheit. So 30 degrees Celsius, which is
which is
warmer
something,
than which is something,
something. I
in
can't do the
Europe,
math, I know.
in Europe yeah. No, it's very warm. Yeah, there's no snow, uh, beaches and blue waters.
Mm, sounds beautiful. I'll dream
It
about that
is.
as I
Yeah.
stare out my frosty window. Oh, well, I'm so glad you're here. I really was not joking. Reading your bio, I'm like, man, if I would have had a group or, leaders who really were devoted to having some serious, authentic conversations with our youth today, um, how lucky would we be? So, how lucky these kids are that they get to work with you. Tell me a little bit how you got started with the project.
Yeah, so definitely. We started the Global Young Leaders about 2 years ago, approximately, and we started with a bunch of young people from all over the world, from Russia, the Mozambique, Italy, Germany, the States, Holland, and Mozambique. And we started because of three main observations that we saw from our own experience, but also the experiences of other young people. And those were that firstly, we saw a really big desire for young people to create life in their own unique way, guided by their own internal standards of success and happiness, as opposed to following society's standards or family or culture or whatever it may be. And secondly, we saw a need for practical life skills and on how to do life and how to deal with real life challenges. For instance, how to deal with negative thinking or limited belief systems, but also how do I deal with the pressures coming from outside, and how do I make decision as a person for myself that really represent me and that bring me to where I want to go in life, and that bring me joy as a person. And third, we saw that when the young people that move out into the world, they don't always feel prepared to
Mm.
tackle their real world challenges. And when we looked at the education system, we saw a heavy focus on knowledge accumulation, on memorization of facts, but not really on how to deal with those life challenges that we all come across, right? And because we saw young people struggling, we felt, okay, why don't we develop something of our own, right?
Mm.
And we felt that, okay, if the challenges are within the young people themselves, the solutions must be found there as well. And so we researched,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, right. It's a good line. It's a good line too. So we went directly to the source and young people themselves, and we focused on their practical experience, right? Because often it is their practical experience that truly tells you what works and what doesn't work. And so as a start, we brought together all these young people from all over the world to sit down and talk, to have meaningful dialogue about what are we going through, what challenges are we experiencing, what solutions do we have on offer within our own experience and the experiences of others. And we found a lot. And what we also found was that, when you strip away the context and the culture and the differences, there's a lot of the same elements. And we sought to look for these elements that had combined all these different stories and people from all over the world, no matter the background or the culture or whatever, and we sought to unify them. And the location where we found that unification was decision making, right? Because
Mm.
we all make decisions, right? And we
Right.
all make a bunch of different decisions that heavily impact our lives, and it's sort of the central mechanism through which we uh, create our lives, right? We're all making decisions, even though the context is different. And so we developed out of this like initial phase a model based around decision making and all the underlying elements that influence that decision making process. And the idea was that the once you gain understanding into how those elements work for you and how they affect your life path, your state of mind, for example, and the mindset or your playing field, the players that you interact with, or emotions, the rationality, that you can guide the elements towards a place that works for you, right? And to guide that towards a place that assist you in doing the things that you would want to do as opposed to working against you. And we published that model, and with that model and the handbook that we published it in, Global Leaders was born. And that's sort of the origin story behind UL. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, and just the fact that you know, going straight to the source. I said, how much I love that, but it really I think one of the main things hearing you talk through what happened is you really heard the youth and what they were struggling with and allow them to be seen and offer solutions that solutions to the challenges that allow them to kind of figure things out for themselves, and like you said, follow their their own
Yeah.
path and their own needs. And it comes to no surprise to me that, as you said, once you stripped away different cultural differences and maybe some age differences or things like that, there were a lot of similarities. And I think a lot of the human struggle that we have um, is that sort of contrast between, should I be doing what, the shoulds, even using that word, right?
Yeah.
Should I be doing X, Y, and Z? Should I follow what my family did? Should I be making this much money versus what brings me joy? How can I make those decisions that allow me to really live purposefully and joyously?
Yeah.
Uh,
It's like when we built it, like we wanted to make it as inclusive like as possible, right? So it's about finding your own answers, right? About finding your own path. Is that if that is we're sitting on a mountain and meditating, the bell means to go do that. But if it is making money, right, and slaving away in Wall Street, whatever, that's perfectly fine too, right? Like it's
right.
about everyone finding uh, their own path, their own answers.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that non-judgmental piece about it, um, that it isn't there isn't a right or wrong way necessarily.
yeah. Well, it's like the non-judgmental piece is is really integrated in our workshops, right? And we use it a lot to create a setting that's loving, that's accepting, that's a place in which people feel welcome and obliged to share what it is they want to share, to show themselves, because um, when I think of my own experiences in my life, but also the experiences of other people, there's always this element of hiding yourself for fear of judgment, or at being on the defensive, or being afraid of what other people think. And so with that non-judgmental aspect, we sort of strip away that whole barrier, right? And we really work on creating a space in which, I mean, a very down to earth way, people feel wanted, but also accepted for who they are. And the magic that happens as a result of that is that people start to move towards you
Mm,
and towards themselves, but also to others, right? And workshops, one of the central pillars is peer-to-peer learning, putting young people like in the same room around a common theme that we all face, but to learn from each other's approaches, right? There's a lot of value in different perspectives, different experiences. And the second thing is to gain understanding and into who you are and who you are not, and
hmm.
to develop uh, tools that assist you in dealing with life. And all of that, right? You can push as hard as you want to create that. And if you don't start with that foundation, right, the environment in which people feel okay, relaxed, and right, glad to be there, then you know you're not going to get what you desire to create. So it's a core element not only in uh, the workshops, but also in the mindset that for example, I'm part of a team of facilitators that run these workshops, and it's not only in word that we like attempt to be non-judgmental. It's also in mind,
Mm,
because people pick up on that.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Well, and so what was it like? I mean, you mentioned briefly, from your own experiences, and not that you have to go too far into detail, but
sure.
um, I'm always curious about what draws people into working with and serving youth. You know, my own experience too, as well, I think about my own education and, a lot of great things happening, but you were talking, about that, the sort of mind dumping, right? Here are the facts, here are the things. And for me as a kid, it felt pretty empty. Um, and so, I got a part of my role, like way back into education, was because I wanted to be able to offer a different experience to my students. So I'm just curious, what is that? How did you come to this path? What has it been like for you, um, as far as being able to be in a space that offers more to the experience?
Definitely. Well, but just my own experience in education, but also in a greater life experience. We talk a lot about the education in GWL because it's a good link and a strong link to the story, and it's also relevant, but it's also greater life, right? Um, Upbringing to a certain extent. And when I was growing up, and the most of this is in hindsight, right? Like now that I have the
Of course.
understanding and the knowledge, uh, you know, you know what's what. But um, let's focus on education. I felt very detached from the the world that I was living in because you're looking at so many things, from a theoretical perspective or learning from them in the books, and also talking about things that have happened long ago, like in the past, and there's not always a link to your own personal experience, right? So, okay, this knowledge, that I'm learning, how does it relate to me, and what do I have to do with it? How can I give
Yeah.
it purpose? But also, you know, we learn mostly, in my opinion, through having experiences, right? And so you can look at life from the backseat of your car and analyze all you want and think about how things will be or should be. But if you're not experiencing, if you're not experiencing it, you're missing a core component that's so important, because through experience, okay, does this fit with me or not, or is this me, like you feel what it is. And for instance, when I look at my fellow young people on this earth, you see a lot of decision stress, right? A lot of not knowing what it is that you want to do, not
What do I
understanding,
want to do with my life?
right? Not,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a people, the midlife the crisis is a common thing. It's not just the young people, right? It's
Right.
it's because you know we don't offer young people concrete experiences through which we can really sense with all our senses and intuition and emotions whether this is something that belongs to me or not,
Hmm.
and that I want to continue in.
Yeah. Well, and the whole sort of social emotional aspect of it. You know, I want to get into that too because it's something, obviously in the middle of this global pandemic, right? The social and emotional needs of our kids across the globe when, schools are closed and, life doesn't look the way that it has since, they were born or, for any of
Yeah.
us really. Um, but um, how much more light has been brought to the fact that um, understanding your emotions and understanding why you feel the way you feel, or how to, and you can speak more to this, how to make decisions from a place of feeling, whether it's positive, negative, and all that. So I know that you mentioned there's you had to pivot some of the work that you do, of course, as
Yeah.
everyone has in the midst of this pandemic. But um, so tell me a little bit about that, how that's been for you.
Yeah, so full of change and full of challenges, but also full of opportunities, which is a very general statement, but very true.
Yeah.
So we usually host the workshops. It's around a bunch of topics around decision making, around how to deal with challenges between you and your environment, how to create from a place of courage as opposed to fear.
Mm.
And we're hosting these workshops, at schools, universities, and sometimes businesses, and also our own independent for groups of young people. And then COVID hit, and we had to suddenly pivot everything online, which face to face is still the holy grail. You as
Right.
a teacher have to know precisely why, to feel the people in the room, to create that energy. And we had to move everything online, but it also created a lot of opportunities because we were suddenly able to interact with people from all over the world at an instant. And for example, when COVID really kicked off, we decided to move or change one of our programs to fit the times, if you will. And we created a workshop called Navigating Life in Times of COVID, Leading Yourself Through Big Changes.
Mm.
It's a long title, I know. And we started hosting these workshops at schools, right, in the Europe, and now venturing out into the States, and for universities and for organizations that we now get to interact with from the comfort of our own home. So it's been good. It's been yeah, really good actually
That's
for me.
great.
Yeah,
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 well, and opportunity is a great word for it. I think many people, especially as we come to the close of the year that is 2020, certainly lots of challenges, but also opportunities. I mean, we have all had to learn new ways of doing our life, our jobs. I mean, not a single person really. I mean, I can't think of a single person that hasn't been affected in some way, where you
no,
really have to take a look at what what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I think a lot of good things will come out of this as well, and already have. I mean, like you said,
yeah,
you get to engage with people from all over the world,
yeah.
which
Well, there's been a much, yeah. Sorry, go ahead. No, and much more, right? So to I give a bit of insight, like into what we talk about with the workshops. It's precisely this, right? It's that there are that like we work on with students and participants to flip the narrative on
Mm,
the COVID experience. And in these workshops, we really work to give purpose to it, right? And we place the COVID experience within a larger context of life, and that COVID is a change. Life is full of change. Change
yeah.
brings things that we like, that we don't like, and we need our tools in order to deal with um, our challenges, these changes, so we don't get stuck in them. And by far, one of the biggest tools that we work on is the use of the mindset to flip our narrative on
Hmm.
our COVID experience. And what we see a lot on the ground, on the battlefield, if you will, is that we see groups of students that find it very difficult, right, to deal with COVID, but there's also groups of students that find it easy, perhaps even to take some enjoyment out of some aspects of COVID experience. And what that showed us very like early on was that what constitutes to be a challenge is very much dependent on the person experiencing it. And challenge is not so much intrinsic to us, intrinsic to the context, the COVID experience, but
Right.
more so to ourselves. And COVID is an illuminator that
Yeah.
highlights things that were already within us. And so, if you look at it like from that perspective, then COVID can be a very important stimulator for something else.
Hmm.
That is that if the challenges are within us, right, then the solutions is also within us, and we don't have to be dependent on COVID to change in order to feel better about ourselves, right? And we can learn to like exert that control um, whenever we choose to. And something else, if I may, like it's a really like amazing thing that we're seeing is that You know, when we ask students, for example, we talk a lot about the challenge of loneliness or like uncertainty uh, regarding the future. We ask students a lot before COVID started, was this a challenge that you already experienced? And the answer is 100% yes, always. And what this shows you is that, again, the challenges are already within us. COVID illuminates them. And if you look at it like that, you could position COVID as an opportunity for us to deal with the things that were all along inside of us, you know. And COVID is an opportunity for us to connect to ourselves, to learn about who we are. We want to be to learn new skills, but also to um, finally get comfortable with change, or to get more connected to our families or to the way that we lead our lives, and not just on an individual scale, but also on a societal scale, right? There's all these problems that are being highlighted now. And in order to deal or like improve stuff, you got to look at
Yep.
things that you're hiding from first. And
Yeah.
COVID, you know, in that way, uh, sort of brings that to the surface, and with that, a lot of opportunity. And if you stay stuck in the like awareness part of it, right, of the trigger, the challenge, then of course it can be very difficult. But if you look beyond it and also see that it's not, it was already there before, then it could be an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very well said. Um, I just, I love the way you brought back, if the challenges are in us, the solutions are in us too. Just as you reached out to the youth, right? The youth were having challenges, and you were able to highlight that they themselves have the solutions, and it's true for all of us. Yes, the COVID pandemic experience has been a huge catalyst for many opportunities, in addition, right, to massive amounts of grief. And so we are really being forced to look at all those things inside of each of us that hold that grief, um, and, figure out ways in which to meet challenges from that different perspective, because it's necessary for survival, right? And I think, and you're right. I mean, that was true before, and that's true now, and it'll remain true forever. If the one constant is change, right? And so how we manage that is so vital. Is so very,
There's
very vital.
yeah.
So. Well, this was amazing. I know you did have a little gift for all our listeners. So those of you who are out there and have young people in your lives who you care about, Christiaan has a wonderful, do you call it a workbook? It's
like a handbook, workbook, 2-in-1 for the price of zero. It's
yeah,
it's so good.
two for the price of zero. That's
Yeah,
the best kind, right?
yeah, that's the one and only.
Right, exactly. So I will put the link to that PDF
Yeah,
down in the comments section. We've got a few people here loving us up. So glad you are watching with us, Barbara and Shelby and Joanne. So happy to be here.
yeah,
So
hi to the
happy.
peeps at home.
Yeah, right?
Joanne, I see you.
She's awesome. I
Yeah.
love it. Um, Oh, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I was just kidding. This is what happens, right? So I know we do get a lot of folks who are just finishing up their workday, so they tune in a little bit later. So if you're watching the replay, of course, hit that right hashtag. I can't even do it without laughing.
Gotta hashtag it up.
You got a hashtag
Yeah.
replay. Let us
Yeah.
know you're here. Let us know your thoughts and your questions. And of course, I will also, Christiaan, I'll put your links to the workbook. And if folks want to get a hold of you and learn more about your programs, we should definitely keep talking, because I think there's some opportunities
For sure.
for some work around here. I absolutely love what you're doing, and I think
Appreciate
it's
that.
amazing. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
thank you for having me, Renee. It's always a
Absolutely.
pleasure talking about these ideas. So thank you.
All right. Well, before I sign off, I want to remind you all once again, I will be giving you some more information next week about the 3-day live training right here in Midwest Elevation for all you educators and youth leaders out there who are feeling the the winds of break coming soon. It's almost there. We will rejuvenate and reconnect and be able to reignite our passions for teaching and leading in 2021. So more information on that coming soon. I am so grateful for you again, Christiaan. Thank you so much for being here. And we will say goodbye to everybody in Facebook land. Bye.
Bye bye. Ciao.